Our scripture on tonight comes from Psalms 143, and we'll look at verses 4 through 6. Psalms 143, verses 4 through 6. As you're turning to Psalms, you recognize something about life that we all recognize. Life can be stressful. As previously mentioned, we want to have joy. We want to be able to navigate through the stressors of life and experience all that we can experience from the bank of joy. Sometimes it seems like the bank of joy is bankrupt. Where is my joy? Or why don't I have more of it? There are probably any number of reasons why we don't experience joy to the extent that we would like to experience it. Have you ever thought that one of the reasons is we perhaps take on too much? We try to solve problems for ourselves and everyone else. We try to be heroic, try to have answers. We try to handle every burden. All of us must admit that there are times in which we need to admit our human limitations and ask God to usher in the strength needed, the grace needed to handle this thing called life. We can enhance our joy when we have a confident faith in God. One of the questions is, how do we develop a confident faith in God? Or how do we access that faith at a time in which we find ourselves overwhelmed, frustrated, and burdened? One of the first things we have to do is just admit that we're overwhelmed, frustrated, or burdened. For many people, it seems that it's going to display weakness. It's going to make them look bad. It's going to diminish their worth or value to have to admit, I'm overwhelmed. It is for this reason that I ask you to look at a heroic person who was overwhelmed, that being David. And Psalms 143, starting at verse number 4. Therefore, my spirit is overwhelmed within me. Remember, we're talking about David, Israel's king, Israel's hero. Again, my spirit is overwhelmed within me. My heart within me is distressed. I remember the days of old. I meditate on your works. I muse on the works of your hands. I spread out my hands to you. My soul longs for you like a thirsty land. As David admits to being overwhelmed, he also reveals some key things in this passage that helps us to understand how he dealt with his experiences of stress, feeling overwhelmed, and frustrated. Things that will help us if we make application of the information. The first thing he mentions is to remember the days of old. As people, we tend to have selective amnesia. We remember what we want to remember, and we forget what we should not forget. In remembering the days of old, he is saying that one of the things that helps him when he's overwhelmed is to recall the past providence of God. Think about something God has done for you. For David, maybe he thought about the victory when God helped him to get that victory over the lion and the bear. Maybe he thought about having slaying the uncircumcised Philistine. Maybe he thought about running from Saul, who was trying to take his life, and how God blessed him to escape. Or the many other blessings of God's grace, mercy, and favor that David could point to. You see, when we're overwhelmed, as is mentioned in Psalms 143, verse 4, overwhelmed necessarily means that we feel ourselves to be beyond strength, beyond ability, beyond capability. And that's why we have to remember the days of old to put the emphasis on God's strength, God's ability, God's capability. It would be good for you to think about, in those moments of being overwhelmed, what has God done for you? It's easy to be so wrapped up in the pain or problem of right now that you forget the providence that has gotten you to your right now. The second thing we see in Psalms 143, as he mentions, meditate on all thy works. Meditation is different than simply remembering. We talked about remembering the days of old, but then he says meditate. You see, to remember simply means to be able to recall it in your mind. But meditation is a little different, and that meditate means to outwardly verbalize inner thoughts. So what you remember, you start to actually meditate or speak on it. See, what you remember, no one else can know. But what you meditate, other people can hear. But the point of meditation is not about other people hearing it. It's about you hearing yourself. It's about stating things and reciting things that are designed to be affirmations, designed to help you. In this case, when he says meditate on all thy works, he not only wants to remember what God has done, but he needs to start talking about it, speaking it, so that he can hear himself talking about the works of God. The same is true of us. When we start to verbalize, speak, meditate, it helps to reinforce within our psyche and to settle our otherwise unsettled emotions about the awesomeness of our God. A third and key thing that is mentioned is he says, I will muse on the works of thine hands. Notice that in Psalms 143, verse 5, I muse on the works of your hands. To muse means to ponder something. It means to go into a state of deep thinking. Now put all of this together. Remember, meditate, and muse. The idea of all of this is to get us focused on God and not focused on our problems. We have a weapon of mass distraction, and that is when our attention is turned toward our problems and our pain, instead of our attention being focused on God. What joy we get, what faith we experience, what peace we have when we remember God, we meditate on God, and we just muse or deeply ponder about God. It may not change our circumstance, but it'll certainly change us. This has been another installment of A Few Minutes with the Minister.